Hello, my name is Margaret Tiveron, and I am a prayer guide with Unity of Vancouver Island. And I welcome you to this space of meditation, whether you're joining me live on Sunday morning or at some other time. I say welcome and thank you for joining. I am in a place where there's a hummingbird feeder right above my head, so you may hear some buzzing through this, and if you do, it's the hummingbird. Oh, here he comes right now. Cool. So I'm going to invite you to join me today in a meditation where we progressively relax our body, do a scan of the body and feel the body relaxing and the mind relaxing and releasing its thoughts, and then getting to a place where we can just sit in the silence. We can be still in mind, body, and spirit, and connect with the divine. So let's begin. If it feels comfortable to you, please close your eyes. And if not, just avert your gaze, and have it look somewhere on the floor or somewhere ahead of you, down below. Now I invite you to breathe deeply. Breathe in. Full chest of air, and then breathe out. And as we breathe out, we feel our thoughts, our mind, the busyness releasing, and we feel our body relaxing as well. Breathing in and out, letting go, letting go, letting go. Again, breathing in and releasing, letting go, letting go, letting go. One final time, breathing in and letting go, letting go, letting go. And now I'm going to invite you to join me on a scan of the body. Beginning at the top of your head, feel the muscles in your head, the crown, the forehead, cheeks. Relax all of those areas. The mouth, all of the muscles and bones in the jaw. Let them relax as the tongue in the mouth relaxes. It can help to bring a bit of a smile to your face. It helps to tell the body to relax. And now the neck, the throat. Feel that area relaxing. And then moving to the shoulders. A lot of people hold tension there. I invite you to notice the tension in the shoulders, and then to consciously let it go. Imagine that the tension is ice, and imagine that it is turning into water and disappearing. See that tension just melting away. And now move to the arms and feel ripples of relaxation and peace going from the shoulders, upper arms, elbows, lower arms, hands, fingers. Just feel the calm and the relaxation moving down the arms as if they were waves in the ocean. Take some time to focus on the hands and feel all of the vibrating and the energy that is in the hands. See if you can feel that. Feel what is going on inside the hands. And then I invite you to turn your attention to your chest and your abdomen. With each breath, feel yourself releasing that tension in that area. With each breath, feel your belly softening and opening to receive the breath. And then moving down to the hips, feel them sitting on a surface or lying on a surface. Feel the contact that you have with that surface. And feel some relaxation, perhaps letting the legs fall a bit more apart as the muscles relax. And then down into the lower legs and the feet. Feel the energy in the feet. Feel the vibrating. Feel the connection with the floor, with the ground. And after focusing on each individual part of the body and allowing it to relax, view the body as a whole, as a relaxed and relaxing organism. Are there any areas of your body where you've allowed the tension to creep in again? Maybe the shoulders, the face. And now I invite you to sit in this place of peace, in this place of sacredness, where you are connected with your own sacred self, and by extension with the sacredness of everything, everywhere. Let's take a few moments to bathe in this beautiful place. And now, as we begin to bring our time of meditation to a close, begin to feel your body, your hands, your feet. Hopefully the relaxation is still there in your body, but allow your mind to come back to the present moment, the present place. I thank you for joining me in this meditation today. And I'd like to conclude with a Hindu greeting, which means the divine in me greets the divine in you. Namaste.
Trust in this great holiness. This sacred space is yours and mine. We are gathering in song, welcoming the oneness, opening the doors of spirit wide. We are walking into light, starting out together on a journey through the miracles inside.
Sneaky. Another song? Maybe later.
Aikwanasi Lumnama. Aikwanasi Lumnama means it's great to see you in the Hulkaminam language, the language of our local Coast Salish people. And we acknowledge that we are here on their land, on the traditional and unceded territory of the people here. In Nanaimo, that's the Snuneymuxw people. So we are grateful to be here, to learn from them, and to go forward as brothers and sisters in reconciliation. And now I'm going to say, Aine Tulth. Natal?
Natal.
Okay,
Yeah.
which means good morning. Okay, welcome to Unity Vancouver Island. My name is Iris Strong. I'm happy to be your platform assistant today. And wherever you are on your journey of life, on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Welcome. So let's take a moment and join in some affirmative prayer. There is only one power and one presence, active in the universe and in our lives. This power is good. This power, some of us call God, universal intelligence, source, or divine mind, keeps working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, sharing of itself. No matter what we do, it keeps loving us, energizing us, giving and strengthening and healing and blessing us. It has to. In the beginning, it's all there was, so it created by sharing itself. We are not connected to Source. We are part of Source. That means that we are made of the same God stuff as it is. We have all the divine attributes of God, and we have the ability to guide and direct those attributes. Because of our divine essence and our inherent 12 powers, we can do or create or accomplish anything we choose. It is our purpose to share our light and express our divinity. Even while in these physical earth suits, we can choose heaven right now. Right now, we focus on our hearts. We feel the divine essence emanating and radiating out to be shared. Let's send our love, our joy, and our compassion out to everyone else in the room. And then send it to everyone in our town. Let's send our healing blessings and our peace to everyone in the country and everyone in the world. We are each a beautiful and unique expression of divine source, and we are powerful beyond measure. We celebrate and rest in that knowledge. We are grateful to know that we are one with the One, and we give thanks that this is so. And so it is. Amen.
I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road to heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing freedom today. I'm choosing freedom today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today.
say when you want to end it.
There you go. Now he's done.
Oh, I'm done. Yeah, we used to tag it at the end, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Welcome to Unity.
We have to obey the signs.
I often go off book. It's all good. Running round, fixing this and that, giving it up to God, then taking it back. Just release and let it go. You don't even have to think about it no more, so get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Sing it.
Get out the way and let God do its thing. You look like the weight of the world's on your back. Just take a deep breath and cut yourself some slack. All that drama ain't good for you. You couldn't change what is if you wanted to. So get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Get out the way and let God do its thing. The sun's gonna shine and the river's gonna flow. The tide's gonna rise without your say-so. The universe is working and the good is flowing. You don't plant a seed, then dig it up to see if it's growing. Get out of the way.
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 Get out the way and let God do its thing.
One more time.
Get out of the way.
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 Get out the way and let God do its thing.
I did it. It's done. Okay.
We got ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Correct.
when Patricia asked me if I would take the role of platform assistant today, I learned that she was going to tell some of the New Thought history. And so I thought, well, for my wise words, I'll choose one of those New Thought people, and I'll share something from Mary Baker Eddy or Myrtle Fillmore or, Emily Cady. And so I did some searching, but I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to share some words from another wise source.
Excellent choice. Now that is a holy book.
So I do know this is a children's book. I do know that. But I'm inviting you to play along with me if you're willing and to see what wisdom can be discerned from it. So Mr. Brown can moo. I forgot I'd have to hold the mic as well as the book. Oh, the wonderful things Mr. Brown can do. He can go like a cow. He can go moo, moo. Mr. Brown can do it. How about you? He can go like a bee. Mr. Brown can buzz. How about you? Can you go buzz, buzz? Well done. Okay, now this is hard. He can go like a cork.
Oh.
He can go like horse feet. Clop, clop, clop. He can go eek, eek, like a squeaky shoe. He can go like a rooster. Cock-a-doodle-doo. He can go like an owl. Eek, 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 cock-a-doodle-doo. Hoo, 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 hoo. How about you? He can go like the rain. Dibble, 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 dop. Dibble, 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 dop, dop, dop. He can go like a train. Choo, 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 choo. All the wonderful things Mr. Brown can do. Moo, moo, buzz, buzz, pop, pop, pop. Eek, eek, hoo, hoo, clop, clop, clop. Dibble, dibble, dop, dop, cock-a-doodle-doo. Mr. Brown can do it. How about you? Mr. Brown can whisper, whisper, very soft, very high, like the soft, soft whisper of a butterfly. Maybe you can too. I think you ought to try. He can go like a horn. Blurp, blurp, blurp. Like a big cat drinking. You're good. He can go like a clock. He can tick, he can tock. He can go like a hand on a door. Knock, knock. Tick tock, tick tock, knock, knock, knock. Oh, the wonderful things Mr. Brown can do. Blurp, blurp, slurp, slurp, cock-a-doodle-doo, knock, 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 and hoo, hoo, hoo. He can even sizzle, sizzle. He can do that too, like an egg in a frying pan. How about you? Mr. Brown is smart, as smart as they come. He can do a hippopotamus chewing gum. I'm going to leave that one to you. There you go. Mr. Brown is so smart, he can even do this. He can even make a noise like a goldfish kiss. Boom, boom, boom. Mr. Brown is a wonder. Boom, boom, boom. Mr. Brown makes thunder. He makes lightning. Splat, splat, splat. It's very, very hard to make a noise like that. Oh, the wonderful things Mr. Brown can do. Help me out here. Moo, moo, buzz, buzz, pop, pop, pop. Eek, eek, whoo, whoo, whoo. Clop, clop, clop. Dibble, dibble, double dot. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Grum, grum, grum. Choo, choo, choo. Boom, boom, splat, splat. Tick, tick, tock. Sizzle, sizzle, slurp, burp. Knock, knock, knock. A slurp and a whisper and a fish kiss too. Mr. Brown can do it. How about you? And I think you are fabulous. I think there's some wisdom in there, even though the words are not exactly wisdom, but I got some wisdom out of that. I hope you did. Try new things, right? Don't be intimidated if other people say you can't or you shouldn't or they think it's silly. Don't be limited by your appearances. You know, Mr. Brown, he's not one of your fancy Dr. Seuss characters. He's boring, he's plain, he's brown, right? Brown. And he was not held back by his financial position, his education, his previous experiences. He just went for it, and he did it. And he wanted to do what he wanted to do. He chose it, and he went for it. So a wise thing Dr. Seuss said in another story is there's no one youer than you. And I think that's just another way of saying that you are a unique and beautiful expression of divine life. So there's Mr. Brown. Now, so let's affirm. We're working on different affirmations towards our Unity Vancouver Island mission statement. And so let's try this week's. Unity Vancouver Island is a growing, unfolding, expanding center of light and love, mighty to attract its good and radiate good to others. And then the vision of Unity Worldwide is a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And music.
I'll go around again. This is extra
I was
dramatic.
distracted. I walk across the desert with no shoes upon my feet to share with you the last bite of bread I had to eat. I would swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. When all your hopes are sinking, let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? I would whisper love so loudly every heart would understand that love and only love can join the tribes of man. I would give my heart's desires so that you might see. The first step is to realize that it all begins with you and me. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? When we stand together, it's our finest hour. We can do anything, anything. You believe it, there's the power. Between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Oh, don't you think it's time?
Yeah. Way to catch it. Way to catch it.
Thank you, Sharon and Nico, and thank you, Miss Teacher, ma'am. Thank you for making that fun and not boring, because I think my talk today might be a little dry, so.
Can we go get some water?
Thanks for the heads up.
I have an appointment.
So Sharon and I are hosting a spirit group on the Foundations of Unity, and as a sort of a prelude to that, I did a little mini history of the New Thought movement. And one of the people I'm sure you've all heard of is Emma Curtis Hopkins, who is called the teacher of teachers. And one of the people in the class asked for more detail about Emma Curtis Hopkins, found she was fascinating. So you're going to get that. But I don't think I can talk about one of these great leaders in the New Thought movement without explaining the web of what was happening all through the 20th century, beginning in the late 1800s. So I'm going to actually talk to you about 8 people today, and I didn't know whether to try and do it with, each person individually or whether to try do it chronologically, and that's what I've tried to do. So I'm going to ask Kyle to put up a slide, and for you in-house, it'll stay there, and maybe you could kind of just switch to that from time to time for those people at home. All I've done is put up their pictures and the times in history when they were alive. And hopefully, if you start to get confused, you can maybe refer back to those pictures, and it'll help bring it all together. So Phineas Parkhurst Quimby is kind of often called the father of New Thought. He was a clockmaker in New England, and he got involved because a fellow named Franz Mesmer, that name sound familiar, was a Frenchman who was teaching mesmerism, which is actually hypnotism, was touring New England, demonstrating and teaching. And Phineas Parkhurst Quimby saw this, got involved in it, started teaching it himself. And what he started out doing, in those days they didn't have TV and they didn't have movies and stuff, so they used to go to lectures a lot. There was a lecture circuit. They'd go TED Talks, I suppose. They'd go hear people talk. And so Quimby was entertaining people with this, but he was also healing people. And he worked originally with an assistant named Lucius, and he would hypnotize Lucius, and Lucius would join minds with the subject, and they would diagnose and treat the subject. Quimby later realized he didn't need Lucius. He could go directly to the subject's mind and find out what was there. He believed he had rediscovered the healing method of Jesus. And he was not a religious man. As a matter of fact, he was very anti-Christian because he said, quote, "People's religions are making them sick." And what he found was that the fear and the blame and the guilt and the sin stuff was causing a lot of people's. So he was kind of the first guy who started thinking. And he was treated, or at least he treated, Mary Baker Eddy. Mary Baker was much later to found the Christian Science movement. But she came to Quimby for a healing and was so impressed by it that she studied with him and began to heal. She was 20 years younger or so than him. And now I want to jump forward a couple of decades, and I want you to look at the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought I had 5. Anyway, people, yeah. The next 5 women. Within a decade or so, these 5 remarkable women came into the world, all of which were to do great things. Mary Baker Eddy, as I say, was later to found Christian Science. Melinda Kramer, where do I have her? Oh yeah, next. How perfect. She would one day found divine science. A year later, after her, Myrtle Fillmore is born. A couple of years after that, Emily Curtis Hopkins, the star of the day, is born. And then Annie Ricks Millet. So within 12 years, these 5 remarkable women. So this whole 19th century there was a lot of stuff. Meanwhile, back in Boston, Emerson and the Boston Metaphysical Society and stuff were doing all sorts of interesting things. So let's leave those 4 women for a bit and jump into 1962 when Mary Baker Eddy was first treated by Quimby, and she studied with him, and she added the religious overtones to his work. And shortly thereafter, he died, and she carried on with this work, calling it Christian Science and adding the religious overtones to it. In 1866, just after Quimby had died, Mary Baker Eddy suffered a spinal injury, and without him, had to heal herself, which she did. Okay, now I'm going to go back and look at these 4 women that have been just growing up. In 1871, Emily Cady, who had been a school teacher, she retired from school teaching and took up homeopathic medicine. And she became the first female physician in New York State, I believe. Melinda Kramer, she's down here, she was an invalid, born with probably chronic tuberculosis. Chronic tuberculosis raises its head a lot in that century. Throughout her life, she's sick enough to be an invalid. She's grown up now, she moves to San Francisco in order to eventually study with Emma Curtis Hopkins, the teacher of teachers, right? Emma Curtis Hopkins had been a secondary school teacher, teaching math, sciences, and the languages, but in 1874, she married, and guess what? She was no longer allowed to teach. She was forced to retire because she was married. So she's kind of in transition there. Mary Baker Eddy, by the way, is still very active, and she publishes in 1875 Science and Health, and also founds the first Church of Christ Scientist and the Massachusetts Metaphysical College. Busy woman. So she's active. Emily Cady and Emma Curtis Hopkins are on a traditional time in their careers. So I want to just pause a bit and spend a bit of time with Emma Curtis Hopkins because she's our star today, right? So not too long after she retired from teaching, her whole family became ill with a difficult respiratory illness. Chronic TB, I don't know. But a neighbor had heard of Mary Baker Eddy and Christian Science and told them about it, and they got attached to Christian Science, and they were all healed. So, Emma Curtis Hopkins, floundering now without a career, she jumps right in. And she begins to study with Mary Baker Eddy. But like all metaphysical women, New Thought strong women, we tend to have thoughts of our own. Have you noticed that? And so she differed a little from Eddy in the fundamental nature of matter. Mary Baker Eddy had said, matter is just, stuff. There's no life in that. Emily Hopkins said, and this is when I really start to see some new thought coming into it, she logically deduced that if God as intelligence is everywhere present, then it must be present in matter as well as in every other aspect of the universe. So she moved away from Eddy's traditional Christian way of thinking by speaking of God as both mother and father. She conceptualized the Trinity as three aspects of divinity, each playing a leading role in different historical times. So God the Father, God the Son, and God the Mother Spirit, or Holy Comforter. And Hopkins believed that spiritual healing was the second coming of Christ. This idea that we can use our minds to heal ourselves is what Jesus taught. She says this is the second coming. Interesting. And she also believed more specifically that the changing roles of women indicated their emerging prominence in the Godhead, signaling a new epoch identified by the inclusion of the mother aspect of God. So she believed that mankind was supposed to live through three spiritual ages, corresponding with the Holy Trinity, God the Father representing the patriarchies of the past, God the Son represented by Jesus, and the freeing of human thought. That's what she thought Jesus did, freed human thought. And when you think about it, yes, thinking did change. And the third age is the present age of God the Holy Spirit, which places women in charge. So she thought of the Holy Spirit in terms of the Mother Comforter. Okay, so in 1884, Emma Curtis Hopkins, our star, she becomes a Christian Science practitioner and edits the Christian Science Journal. In 1885, she is very abruptly removed from that post because she dared to suggest that there were other mystical teachers worth teaching. And so she broke away and began healing patients and teaching a broader understanding. Same time, 1885, now Melinda Kramer, who throughout her life had been a persistent health problem, making her an invalid, she was healed by Christian Science, and she begins to study. Hopkins moves to Chicago to edit the Mind Cure Journal, and in Chicago, Hopkins met a woman named Mary Plunkett, and I'm just kind of including this as a little bit of comic relief, if you will. But Mary Plunkett and Emma Curtis Hopkins established the Emma Hopkins College of Christian Science and the Hopkins Metaphysical Association. And at that time, Christian Science was not copyrighted or anybody's particular, so everybody was using it. And then, just at this time, we're now at 1887, just as an aside, a young man, see the last one there? Ernest Holmes, who would later establish science of mind, religious science, was born. So these women are all in midlife. He's just, put him aside. He's coming along there as a baby. Oops. And I just jumped way ahead of myself. Annie Ricks Millets now. She was a school teacher in San Francisco, and at this time she was in her early 30s, and she attended a class by Emma Curtis Hopkins. And during that class, she found that she was healed of both a migraine and deafness in one ear. And she said, "Oh, okay, let me play too." And she jumped in. She began studying Christian Science home. Actually, she called it the Christian Science Home, which would later become a denomination called the Home of Truth, and which much later became the Church of Truth. And I went to one of those many years ago. Anyway, so back to Emma Hopkins in Chicago with this lady named Mary Plunkett. Plunkett soon became dissatisfied with the limitations of their work in Chicago, and she moved to New York, and she called upon her previous direct ties to Mary Baker Eddy to form, remember, the Christian Scientist, to form a big following in New York City. But again, as a free-thinking, strong-willed woman, she fell into public disgrace after the scandal of parting with her husband, John, who had fathered neither of their children, in favor of a free love relationship with A. Bentley Worthington. Within a month of the adoption of his name, Worthington was exposed as an embezzler and multi-state bigamist. Plunkett moved to Australia, where she committed suicide. Totally different story altogether. But she had taken with her the mailing list and other important files associated with their joint venture. And this left Emma Curtis Hopkins in a difficult situation. Guess what she did? What? She applied the principles which she was teaching to her own situation. Imagine that. Imagine applying the principles that we all know when something comes up in our life. Imagine that. So she rebounded from Plunkett's departure and launched a new journal called Christian Science, which she sent to everybody that she knew with the idea of promoting this teaching not as a profession, but as a ministry. And she joined forces with a Methodist minister and founded a seminary to actually formally teach spiritual training to spiritual leaders, especially women. And this is, of course, is her main focus. And this is when she becomes known as the teacher of teachers, because she taught all these people eventually. So we're now at 1888, and Emily Cady, and we haven't heard much from her, except that she was a homeopathic doctor, but she eventually did get involved in the New Thought movement and studied with Curtis as well. And at that time, she publishes her first book, which is called Lessons of 1888. And she was, meanwhile, had been studying with the Boston people, Emerson and all those guys. All those guys studied with Emerson, as well as Emma Curtis Hopkins. In 1888, also, Melinda Kramer starts a journal. Everybody publishes a journal in these days called Harmony. And she and her husband opened the Home College of Divine Science. 1889, now also, this is when the Fillmores are just beginning to get really active. So the history for the Fillmores, Myrtle had attended a lecture by a Dr. E.B. Weeks when he explained how the mind can heal. And she went home and applied this to her own chronic tuberculosis, which over a couple of years she healed. And then Charles Fillmore said, "Hey, this is interesting." He started applying the methods, and he healed a withered leg. He had been about 10 or 12 years old. He'd had a skating accident, and he had one leg that was 4 inches shorter than the other, and he healed it with these methods. So they are really getting involved now. They're saying, this is for us. So in 1890, Charles names the movement Unity, and they form the Society of Silent Help, which is later to become Silent Unity, which exists today. At the same time, Annie Ricks Millets, who's going to have the Home of Truth, moves to Chicago to study with Emmy Curtis. 1891, Emily Cady writes a pamphlet which she sends unsolicited to the Fillmores. And they love it. It's called Finding the Christ in Ourselves. And they published it in the October Modern Thought, which is the journal that they started. That's how they started, with the journal Thought. And if you ever get to Unity Village, it's in Kansas. There are underground tunnels that connect all the buildings there because it's a tornado state. And in those tunnels is this huge publishing department. And they've published books and magazines and the Wee Wisdom and the Daily Word and all those pamphlets you see on the shelf. It's a huge department, just to know that. So then, in 1891, Annie Ricks Millets, Charles Fillmore, and Myrtle Fillmore were ordained by Emma Curtis Hopkins together, and they formed a liaison for a while. And Dr. Cady published articles in Unity magazine in 1892 that was later compiled into a book and became the first book that Unity published. So Emily Cady is not a Unity person per se, but she had such ties with them. And at this same year, Melinda Kramers founded the International Divine Science Association, which is a forerunner of the International New Thought Association, which exists today. And its purpose is to network and integrate all of these New Thought centers. You thought we were the only one, didn't you? In 1892, this is the same thing. Fillmores are really getting committed now to this teaching, and they sign a covenant. And I'm going to read it to you because it blows me away every time I hear it. We, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, hereby dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, all we have, and all we expect to have, to the Spirit of Truth, and through it to the Society of Silent Unity. It being understood and agreed that the said Spirit of Truth shall render unto us an equivalent for this dedication in peace of mind, health of body, wisdom, understanding, love, life, and an abundant supply of all things necessary to meet every want without our making any of these things the object of our existence. How's that for tithing? You know,
Pretty serious.
yeah, but can you imagine what it would be like to live that way with total faith and trust? Okay, so right now, 1893, Annie Ricks Millets, who was the one who was ordained with the Fillmores, she meets Swami Vivekananda, and she turns away from the Christian aspects and goes to interfaith direction. So she parts ways with the Fillmore. Same year, Myrtle Fillmore published the first issue of Wee Wisdom. Anybody read Wee Wisdom growing up? And Melinda Kramer is busy opening the second teaching college in Oakland, California, and that's Divine Science. And Emmett Fox. Now, we all love Emmett Fox, and both Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living would kind of love to claim Emmett Fox for ourselves, but sorry, he was Divine Science, taught by Melinda Kramer. Now, he, in New York, had the largest congregation in history at that time, living in New York, speaking to 5,500 people at the New York Hippodrome and Carnegie Hall every week. So that's divine, and Divine Science still exists. So back to Emma Curtis and her focus on women as leaders. She not only had her teaching college, but she created support groups for women called the Hopkins Association and have chapters all over the world. And in addition, at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, she maintained a booth in the Women's Pavilion. She led her faculty of 12 at the seminary and taught classes to hundreds of students, with 110 graduates becoming ordained over the years. So including the Fillmores of Unity, Ernest Holmes of Religious Science, Melinda Kramer and Nona Brooks of Divine Science, Emily Cady, author of Unity's cornerstone text, Lessons in Truth, and the most widely read New Thought book of all times. So she graduates and trains all these things and then abruptly shuts down the seminary. And she spent the next 30 years traveling. Another interesting, powerful woman. She was seeking, as she said in High Mysticism, to own as little as possible. Anybody have that goal? To own as little as possible, and through service to others, allow her divine source to be her supply and protection. Do you think she got that idea from the Fillmores? Or do you think as their teacher, maybe she planted the seed of that idea in them? That's interesting. But she wrote and lectured, and she offered individual healing sessions. She spent winters in New York participating in the season of plays and concerts. And she became involved with Mabel Dodge, the socialite. I don't know if you heard, but she moved in pretty high society. Mabel Dodge married and moved to New Mexico, where Georgia O'Keeffe and D.H. Lawrence also lived. So she hung out in some pretty good crowds in her later days. I'm going to return that. So let's move on to past the turn of the century. Melinda Kramer, she died in San Francisco due to a recurrence of her tuberculosis as a result of the aftermath of the great San Francisco earthquake and fire. It kind of puts it into a bit of context, doesn't it? Same year, the Quimby manuscripts were published, 50 years after his death, and there are people today very dedicated to maintaining that library because he has some very profound original thoughts. So we're now the turn of the century, 1908, begin to see Ernest Holmes, the youngest of them. He's working in a retail store to pay for his elocution lessons. And I love that, at the Leland Powers School of Expression. And he became a very good speaker, elocution lessons. More ministers could do with some of those. But anyway, he was introduced there to Mary Baker's teaching and Christian Science as well. So she had tremendous influence. And really the differences between New Thought and Christian Science is Christian Science teaches only Mary Baker Eddy's book. That's it for them. Whereas we find our wisdom everywhere. And of course, Christian scientists will deny medical care where we cooperate. Otherwise, it's the same kind of teaching. Oh dear. So, 1915, International New Thought Alliance. Again, this is the organization that unites all the New Thoughts. It's held in conjunction, the conference is held in conjunction with a World's Fair in San Francisco. And they had a conference in conjunction with the fair. The fair organizers were so impressed that they declared a New Thought Day at the fair, and they created a bronze commemorative medal for the occasion. At the same time, Ernest Holmes is now beginning to speak at the Metaphysical Library in Los Angeles, and he's becoming famous, and he's starting to tour around the country. And in 1918, at the INTA conference, he tracked down Emma Curtis Hopkins, who he had not known yet, and asked for an interview, but she denied him. She was too busy. So he went and published his first book, The Creative Mind, and in the same year, a 58-acre farm was being bought in Kansas City, which would become Unity Village. These institutions are all growing together. 5 years after Ernest Holmes requested that interview with Emma Curtis Hopkins, she was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and she agreed to see him. So she taught him for a couple of years and ordained him until her death. And at the same time, Unity's purchasing a radio station in Kansas City, and Charles is going online, right? 1926, Ernest Holmes publishes The Science of Mind, which to this day is the primary teaching text for Centers for Spiritual Living. 1929, the Unity Tower and Silent Unity buildings are built. Anybody here been to Unity Village? Yeah, about a half dozen of it. It's a goal you could all work toward. 1929, that tower is built. 1931, Myrtle dies. 1941, Emily Cady dies. 1948, Childs dies. And Holmes dies in 1960. So it kind of almost feels like the end of an era. But as you know, Unity has continued to thrive, to expand, to unfold, to be involved with the International New Thought Alliance and the Association for Global New Thought, which is another one. And as recently as last year, Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living, which is Science of Mind, reached a reciprocal agreement that they can now hire each other's ministers. I think that's a good thing. Let's have the best of both. So there you have it. Unity, Centers for Spiritual Living, and Divine Science continue to thrive, while many of the other denominations have dwindled. However, the contributions of each of those magnificent individuals continues to inspire us through their writings, and we in Unity are not alone on this path. And this Unity Vancouver Island is not only a part of Unity Canada, but also a part of Unity Worldwide Ministries. They're the branch that educates and ordains ministers and provides resources, and Unity Headquarters, which owns and operates Unity Village. So we're all part of that. We're part of all of that. And that's something. We're not just us. And in addition, we have brothers and sisters throughout the world in various New Thought groups that share our passion for a more thoughtful, more inclusive, more loving world. What a legacy these amazing teachers have left for us. So I invite you to just turn within and sit in gratitude just for a moment. For all the thinkers, the searchers, and the teachers who paved the way. And for those great thinkers who continue to expand our understanding and lead us deeper and higher. For the groundbreakers and the rule breakers, the free thinkers. We are grateful and we bless them. And so it is. Sharon.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Oh, geez. Guess I should play something. This is a bit out of the ordinary, but I wrote a piece this week for a woman in Mississippi. It was for her wedding, and I'm really fond of it, so I'd like to play it for you. You'll have to imagine the full orchestration that goes with it. About 40 instruments, but do my best. I just wrote it last night, so I think I still remember it. stuck in my head all morning, so I had to get it out.
Wow. Wow. So we have lots of good stuff coming up. One announcement that I'd like to share with you is not on the screen, but you probably noticed all the wonderful work that's going on outside with there's going to be a new patio area. The board has approved all the funding for that, so that's taken care of. But another idea is to get a ramp built up to the coffee area. And so that will cost about $3,000. So there's a basket at the back if you want to drop in $1,000 for that. Oh, or two, okay. So that's an idea, just, an idea. Okay, so lots of stuff. Right after service, there is the Talk the Talk opportunity. So if you would like to chat about the service, the passcode and all that is on the screen there. It'll also be on the screen at the end of service today. And Monday Magic at the Met. So these things are all happening at First Metropolitan Church in Victoria. So Unity of Vancouver Island is doing a prayer circle tomorrow at 1 o'clock. That's a new time. And the following Monday at 12:30, the matinee with Anna Harvey, How to Hug a Cactus. And that is part 3, so it's best if you've done part 2 before. Then 2 Sundays from then, July 24th at 10:30, a live in-person service in Victoria at Oakland's Community Center. So lots of exciting things happening there. This coming Tuesday, July 5th at 7, we have our regular congregation meeting, What's Up Unity, get-together meeting, whatever you want to call it. It's a monthly opportunity to stay connected, to find out what's going on, to ask questions, to make suggestions, to be connected. So it's on Zoom, and there should be, a lot of people there. So come, be one of them. Ongoing, 2nd and 4th Tuesdays at 1, the prayer circle at the Spiritual Center in Comox. So that's the 2nd and 4th Tuesday. But every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, there's seated Tai Chi here in Nanaimo. Thursdays at 10:30, Course in Miracles. And the 1st and 3rd Fridays at 6:30, board games in Nanaimo. And the end of the month, our big family reunion. So from Saturday afternoon or early evening until Sunday afternoon, lots and lots of special, wonderful events. And does everybody know the Big Mess? That's half of it, sitting right back there. Yes, looking forward to that. Kyle and his dad. And so because we're hoping to have lots of folks from Comox and Victoria, we are also hoping to have lots of billets. So next slide. Oh, even that one. Yes, all the things to bring. Good stuff. And so if you have a spare bed for that last weekend in July, the email for Jen is there, Jen Ripley. Just let her know if you've got a single bed, a double bed, 3 rooms, whatever, okay? And thank you for generous support for Unity. So leaving the $3,000 in the basket was a joke, but there is a basket at the back of the room for your donations if you're not doing it by e-transfer or check or whatever. And today we celebrate our gratitude for Brenda and Judith, who put on the potato lunch last week.
I send my love over the mountain. I send my
And I think the children are already here. So let's bless our children. You want to wave to us, children? Okay, yeah, excellent. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, children, we see the divine light shining as you. We love and appreciate you exactly the way you are. And that's the truth. And let's say our prayer of protection. The light that is God surrounds me. I am one with the light. The love that is God enfolds me. I am one with the love. The power that is God protects me. I am one with the power. The presence that is God watches over me. I am one with the presence. Here I am, God is, and all is well, and so it is. Amen. And let's stand for our peace song.